The shores of Lake Königssee in southwestern Germany is the Lotto Bavarian Ice Arena, the site of the latest stop on the FIL Luge World Cup Tour. Hi again, everyone. I'm Tim Singer. The weather is holding steady as you see fog in the distance, but the temperature of both the air and the ice hovering just around the freezing mark. We're getting ready for run number 2 of the women's singles competition. Run number 1 already underway, and to tell us a little bit more about how the competition shaping up here in Königssee, I'm pleased to reintroduce my broadcast partner, Martin Haven.
Good morning, Tim. Good morning, everybody. Foggy day in Bavaria, but the track has been pretty kind so far today to our athletes. Natalie Geisenberger, the start and track record holder, is in contention again after a year away because of maternity. She is still in the hunt for the medals. In third place is Austria's Madeleine Egel. Geisenberger lies second after the first heat, but she is a full 10th away from the leader, and our current leader after the first of our 2 heats is Julia Taubitz, who was on the podium here in last year's race in the silver medal position. But the winner last year, Anna Bereiter, is hovering just outside the lead group as well. And Tim, our start draw features all 28 women who went in the first heat. They go in reverse order of their performance. And so we go last to fast with our current leader, Julia Taubitz, coming up at the end of the hour to try and defend that lead and take gold.
It also includes, as you see there, the return of the North Americans for the second half of the season. A lot of good storylines. Geisenberger has finished second in every race this year, 6 for 6 in second place. Taubitz has won 4 of the 6 races, and Madeleine Egel, who's sitting in third place, is still looking for the very elusive first ever podium. But we begin run number 2 as we started run number 1 with the young athlete from Poland.
We do indeed, and a little bit of AC/DC. So Vasti Rasp, our DJ on site, obviously deciding that the Angus brothers were from Poland. This is Klaudia Domaracka, 3.11 start in the first heat.
Hey, I think the Australians would have something to say about that, wouldn't they?
And the Scots as well, because actually most of AC/DC was born in Scotland.
Right.
Domaracka setting off at as the first sled down, so she's our rabbit. She'll give us an idea of what conditions are like. Temperatures, as you say, hovering just around freezing. Very high humidity, which means the refrigeration will be on hard, but it's not frosty at the moment.
Well, the weather has been an interesting player all season long on the World Cup as Domaracka negotiates these final lower labyrinth curves uphill to the finish. We'll see, she had a 52.218 in run number 1. She is almost spot on, 0.03 of a difference. You know, Martin, every race so far this year, 5 for 5, where the weather has just been pretty steady. It's been a lot warmer, but it's really hasn't been much colder. I don't know if that's a good thing necessarily in this sport. It really hasn't dipped into the high 20s Fahrenheit or much below freezing Celsius.
Well, looking here at Domaracka, watch the way she's using her toes to guide the Kufen. They're rubber mounted on the seat of the sled, so you squeeze with your legs and you just increase the angle of attack of your Kufen, the runners. Elena Schmacher next up. She was our third starter in Heat 1 for the Ukraine. She dropped behind the woman who she beat in the qualifying race in the Nations Cup race on Friday.
20 years old from Kremenetz, part-time student with a big problem at the start.
Yeah.
There was just no way she was going to be able to correct that when she made the hard left turn.
And actually that's going to be really uncomfortable as well. She had her left leg stuck out well to try and steer the sled around, and that will have thumped her ankle against the wall.
Unfortunate. She's very clean through the S-curves, but a lot of that is a product of just lacking any sort of speed after the early mistake.
She's 20 years old, as you say. Finished in 25th place in last year's World Cup race here. She's not going to achieve that unless we have some real carnage in the early starters down in the lower labyrinth.
No, I think what we're looking at here is going to be the slowest time of the day, both heats.
Yep.
Because she just lost it all at the start. She was 52.173. Now she's 52.884. Hey, that's not actually that bad. Only a tenth of a second slower than her first run.
Yeah. So into second place, Elena Shmaha from the Ukraine. And that leaves Klaudia Domaradzka as our race leader. So she moves up a spot. And this race is you versus the mountain, Tim. Nothing anybody else does can affect you, but boy, you can sure ruin your own race in a heartbeat, and that's where it all went west for her.
But that's the perfect promo, Martin, because later on today, the final race of the weekend is not just a you versus the mountain. It actually is a team competition, as 10 nations will be taking part in the relay event.
Katerina Simonikova from Slovakia is next up. 3.153 was her start. The start record, by the way, 2.94, so we're a long way from that. 3.187, just a smidgen slower.
Katerina, 22 years old. She competed at the 2018 Olympic Games, where she finished 23rd, having just turned 20 at that point.
Nice exit out of the Schlangengruber, S4 down the bend away. Now she's in the green over Domaradzka, and she had just a little under a tenth of a second advantage from the first heat. Great exit from the Chrysler as well. This is going to help her build that.
Yeah, looking really good. This has been pretty solid. Everything's relative, of course, Martin. This is not a podium contending run, but again, this is really kind of clean from top to bottom.
Yeah. And she's more than doubled her first heat advantage as well, so that's a very good second heat. 52.04 compared to 52.10. Now, to the naked eye, if you were timing it with a stopwatch, it would be identical, but we're dealing with thousandths of a second here, so improvements are very finite.
So again, in the early going for the first few sleds, if you have comments, criticisms, questions, complaints, whatever, please let us know on Twitter at Luge Announcer, through email luge.announcer@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. You know, Martin, we have had so far at the last count viewers from 96 countries watching the live streaming.
Impressive stuff. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Now, disappointing to see Natalie Marg of Switzerland this far down the order. She started in the top 10, but she had a disastrous first heat. All went wrong from the start and didn't go any better. So the Swiss miss with a lot of work to do. She's 1.18 off the lead. She's probably a good 7/10 of a second from where she would want to be.
And this on a venue where Switzerland perhaps had its biggest moment ever in the history of luge, a world championship title by Natalie's former teammate Martina Kolka at the 2017 Worlds in the women's sprint competition.
Yeah, that was an amazing result, wasn't it? A huge day, and in fact she'd had a really good time all week leading up to that, but just really excelled herself. Marg should be in the lead by a handy margin over Simonikova. And across the line she comes, 6/10 better there, 51.64. What was her first run? 51.91. So she shouldn't be 3/10 better on just one run. She should have been 3/10 better on the previous run as well, and that would have left her more around the top 15. She should really have been in the top 10, though. Her results this season lead you to think that she's off the pace here.
She could slide back into the top 20, entering this run in 25th place. Moving up 5 spots after that run is certainly not out of the realm of possibility for a veteran Mog.
Let's see if Olena Stetskev of the Ukraine can hold her off.
Well, this is Selena Eglev coming up first.
It is.
And the 17-year-old is the youngest athlete in all weekend of sliding, all 3 disciplines. She had qualified for last year's Youth Olympic Games, but Martin, she broke her leg during training, which is so unfortunate to miss out on an event she was one of the medal favorites for.
Well, she had a better start than in the first heat. Remember, in the first heat when she was paddling, she just ran up against that right-hand wall. She got close to it this time, but it's a little better, just a little hard coming down off S4. Down the bend away, this long curving straight, not one curve but two. Nice even line here through the Kreisel. She's been very well taught in Innsbruck to be a glider, to be as still as possible on the sled. Maintain your aerodynamic form, trust your line.
Selena's sister Madeline in third place after run number one. She'll be coming up late here in the heat. Let's see how this young Austrian, I loved seeing her right there at the finish, Martin, how she ducked her head even lower. You see that a lot with the bobsledders where even the driver hides their head.
And listen, you know, what difference does it make? It could make 2 or 3 thousandths of a difference, and that can mean a place. In fact, that can mean 2 or 3 places in Luge. So she comes up just shy of moving ahead of Natalie Marg, but not much. That was a better second heat.
Needs to peak up a little out of S4. Of course, why not? That's one of the trickier spots of the track.
Well, again, S4, you're committed from S1. And if 1 and 2 are wrong, S4 ain't going to get better by looking at it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's the leader's time and a 30-second countdown clock now for Elena Stetskiv. Checks notes, checks screen. Yes, they match. Not always the case.
That's true.
Our fourth starter in Heat 1. So she's actually outraced in the first heat a couple of the women that beat her in the Nations Cup qualifier on Friday. You see, as you drop over from the starting handles, that's the real danger, that the sled gets away from you, but she managed to control it well.
And we saw that with her teammate, Elena Schmaha, just a few moments ago, driving right into the wall. Already into the red here, which is not a good sign this early in the run.
Well, again, Natalie Marg is a quicker starter than most of the women that she found herself surrounded by. Yeah. And that all helps. Again, we talked about it's like a drag race. If you get away from the line quickly, if you come out of the blocks quickly as a sprinter, you're a step ahead, and it takes them a while to catch you up. Now, there is ice, and there are corners enough to make mistakes that you can catch other athletes. Not sure Stetskiv is going to do that, though.
Well, I'm holding true to my projection that Natalie Marg is going to move up 5 spots. It may not be the next 5, but she'll move up 5 spots after her run, and that is somewhat indicative of Stetskiv's performance there, third place right now.
And that's largely because Selena Egel was so close to Natalie Marg as well. Selena Egel put in a better second heat, as did Natalie Marg, so I think they're going to move up together. Looking here in the labyrinth. It looks so straightforward when you see it in hypermotion. When you come out of there, it just looks like 3 walls in front of you. Next up, Italy's Nina Zögler. She had the 5th start draw in our field, just 19 years old, and her legendary dad will be down at the bottom watching on the coach's monitor.
This is a track that so many people love, but one that Nina has yet to get comfortable on. Still just 19 years old. She made a World Cup debut at age 16. And as I mentioned during run number 1, this is her first full season as a World Cup athlete, as she's still been finishing up high school over the last several seasons.
Well, that's so common, isn't it, for athletes? And actually, an awful lot of high school kids this year will realize exactly what it is that a lot of our young athletes do.
Remote learning.
Exactly right, But these guys are out on the track in the morning or in the afternoon, training, they're prepping the sleds, and they're still getting their high school work done. And when your dad's on tour with you as well, like Nina's is, you don't get away with failing.
Right.
Exactly.
You can't skip the homework.
Yeah, the grades had better be right.
In fact, as you see her back in third place right now, Armin has been really quick to point out that he has never pressured his daughter to be involved in Luge. This was her decision, and she wanted to do it, and clearly she is happy doing it.
Every winter sport athlete said the same thing. No, I do not want my kids to do this. Can't they do a warm sport? Yeah.
Can't we do a warm sport, Martin?
Yeah. Well, we could. Here's a great comparison. Olga Stetskiv and Nina Zögler. Look at Zögler, much better line through the second part of the doodles. That means she misses the wall on the left, down at the bottom.
Jim comes in with a question, which I don't know the answer of. He's watching today and says, why do Bavarians use red face shields? Do you have any idea?
Well, a tinted visor helps to cut down the glare because you're looking at overcast conditions, so white sky, white track, and it's illuminated as well, and it just tends, and sometimes you see, you know, in the rain, drivers used to race with yellow goggles or yellow visors. It just cuts down the glare. It helps to polarize the light. Why they're using red ones? Somebody somewhere in Bavaria has come up with a theory that that's even better. You use red light at night when you're flying or when you're driving. Your dash illumination is usually red or yellow so that it doesn't affect your eye, your cones and your rods in your eyes so much. So, yeah, maybe red rather than yellow. Who knows?
Katerina Baturina having a sensational run here. And again, this Russian mystery continues, Martin. They're either on edge, grabbing walls, or they're having really fast runs. And Baturina just put down a pretty good one there to take over a fairly convincing lead over Natalie Mogg.
Yeah, she found 1700s over her first heat, so that is a big improvement. Bearing in mind, we're taking just a whisker over 50 seconds to get down here, but it was pretty wild. Below the Kreisel, watch the feet. Look how much work she is doing here. She's correcting the line all the way, and that's an indication that the sled has got a very, very loose setup. She's trimmed out for speed.
Hey,
they can see
the spikes,
Yeah, the needles on the fingertips of these gloves. And that's where you get the traction. And this is our sole Korean athlete, Aileen Frisch.
Don't shake hands when they're done down at the bottom.
Well, that's why, you know, when you're the mascot, you've got to be careful how you high-five a luge athlete.
That's right. Well, Aileen actually has spent quite a lot of time. She's from Altenburg. She competes for South Korea, but she's spent a lot of time. Her longtime boyfriend, no longer boyfriend, but is from right here in Bavaria. So she knows this track pretty well, and it's a little bit surprising to see her back so far after one run, 20th place.
Again, because of the way the pandemic has been working, that whole support bubble may not be fully intact around Frisch. She may be paddling her own canoe a little. 109.1, decent speed. 3 thousandths of a second ahead of Katerina Baturina, and now she drops behind. Can she find something? Can she use the German shortcuts out at the bottom of this track? Across the line, yes.
Nicely done, a 51.654, guaranteeing a top 20 for Aileen Frisch, who has been hovering right at about that level all season long. In fact, if I have my math correct here, her last 4 results have been all 19th place.
Yep.
That's unbelievable. So, so she's got to move up one spot to keep that consistency. Obviously, she would like to move up a few more.
Well, she might have a chance because this is a very tight group of athletes coming up next. Just a few hundredths of a second separating Aileen Frisch of Korea from this young lady, Hannah Prock, one of 3 sliding daughters of legendary fathers in the field today. And you can see the gap is absolutely tiny.
Berchtesgaden, Königssee, you see that written on the bibs. It's really 2 communities. Königssee is this small little hamlet on the lake where the track is. Berchtesgaden, the more famous town in the Bavarian Alps, about a 5-kilometer drive away.
Yeah, once upon a time, the train line that currently finishes at the station in Berchtesgaden used to come all the way down to the lake in the steam-drawn era.
Just a wonderful location on the side of the mountain, next to the lake. A lot of history, a lot of beauty.
And Hannah Prock is behind, 109.8. That's about the best speed we've seen so far, so she might have something for Aileen Frisch. 3 thousandths in it. Don't forget, below Echo, the next big left-hander, that's where Frisch found her advantage. Good exit from Prock, drifts too much to the left though. She's going to have to work hard to stay in the lead at the line, 1600s up.
Hey, that really bodes well for Madeline Egla, who will be the final Austrian, not for a while, in 3rd place, but if the Austrians are consistent with their sled setup of all of their athletes today, then you've got to like Madeline's chances to be on the podium if she can avoid the errors.
Well, again, an improvement of 1900ths of a second. That's a big step forward for Hannah Prock. Her first run wasn't tidy. This was much neater.
Well, the mascot you see there has got the provisional name of Yeti, but we've been doing a little survey about what to name the mascots in Martin as we get ready for our first of 2 Italians in a row. We've had 2 suggestions. One said Iggy from Königssee.
Okay.
And another said Vats, after the Vatsman Mountain.
Yeah, I could see Vatsy being quite a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good shout.
Thanks for those contributions to the naming contest.
Verena Hofer, the first, as you say, of 2 consecutive Italian sliders. And again, with a tiny advantage, just 12 thousandths ahead of Hannah Prock from the first heat. I beg your pardon, just 4 thousandths ahead of Hannah Prock from the first heat. And yet she's still in the green over the Austrian girl. 108.9, that's going to go red. Prock was 109.
Last winter at just age 18, she did have qualified for the Italian World Championship team and finished in the top 15 in women's singles.
That's impressive at such a young age. Well, she was nearly a kilometre down on Prock, almost had her feet down there as well, out of the seal curve. So she's going to drop 2 or 3 spots. Wow.
3 spots.
6th fastest only. So, yeah, Hannah Prock in the leader's box. And Hofer drops her 4th position behind Batterina, Frisch and Prock.
How well do you know your German, Martin? Because we just saw Hofer, and next up we have Oberhofer. Which is over the Hof, or over the farm, would that be?
I guess.
Yeah, it's over, it's something like that.
Yeah.
We really should know better German, all of the hundreds of races we've covered.
I've never come across an Unterhofer, but there must be that as well. As you say, Marion Oberhofer, no relation to Oberhof.
Well, there's Ober Salzburg, which is very close to here.
But no Untersalzburg.
That's right.
And Oberhofer again from Südtirol. Very strange to be in a fully Italian-looking, Italian-eating, Italian-feeling part of Italy where everybody speaks German at you.
And what's interesting is, how much pride they have in their German heritage, their German culture. I've known of some Italian Olympians who the Italian press came and tried to interview them in Italian, and they weren't able to answer. Now, the savvy veterans such as Armin Zugler learned enough Italian where he could work the media.
Yeah, very much so. But the Südtirolese, they do see themselves as part of the Alpine family, which is largely Germanic, Romansch. So they see themselves more akin to the Bavarians, to the Austrians, to the Swiss than they do to somebody from middle or southern Italy.
Which geopolitically, they for a long time in their history were part of.
Yeah. 8 tenths up from the 8 tenths behind the leaders from the first heat. Oberhofer drops back by 35 thousandths.
Right at the end, and that's what you were referring to, where Frisch and Prock had such great speed down at the bottom. Oberhofer does stay ahead of the Korean, but behind the Austrian.
From Echo on, it looks like it's all pretty easy, and it's not challenging corners, but they go uphill. And you can see her here. Look at it, working the body, working the hips, working the shoulders, the heads, the legs. Every part of your body is a major part of sliding these sleds. Arm around the shoulder there from the coach. And next up, Lisa Schulte of Austria. 1900ths of a second, her advantage over our current leader, Hannah Prock, her teammate. So she's got a little more in the bank.
1 career podium. That was as part of the team relay at the World Cup opener last year, as she had a little help from Jonas Müller and Stoyan Kohler, who had won their individual races that weekend. It was nice to have good company in the team relay.
Well, neither she nor her teammate Hannah Prock, the current leader, really performed up to where we would expect in the first heat. Both should need to improve. Best speed, 109.9 kilometers an hour. 110 is 67 miles an hour, give or take.
Big advantage at that last split, 36 hundredths. So she would have to make a major mistake, but we say this every week, Martin, this is very deceiving. This is a lot steeper uphill than the cameras show, and she lost about a tenth on those last few curves, but still well out in front of her teammate.
Yeah, takes the lead from teammate Hannah Prock. Prock is similarly still about a tenth ahead of third place Marion Oberhofer, but these two should have been knocking on the door of the top 10 rather than just clinging on somewhere in the mid to low teens.
So it's Schulte and Prock out in front, and we welcome back to the World Cup the North Americans. One Canadian, Carolyn Maxwell, just missed out in making the main draw this weekend, but all four from the USA did, and they, Martin, will be 4 of the next 5 to go.
Yeah, all in a clump. They're not huddled together for warmth. This is, as you say, Ashley Farquhar on the first of them. And again, tiny advantage of just 15 thousandths of a second over Lisa Schulte. And having seen how the two Austrians have improved in the first, from the first to the second, be interesting to see how Ashley does here.
Well, I'll tell you one thing she did, and that was 10 paddles. I don't think I've seen that yet today. I may have seen that matched, but not bettered.
Well, she immediately has a slender advantage. 15 thousandths from the first heat. She's 30 thousandths up now, but a little late there coming off S4. Drove it almost into the wall on the bend away. Almost a second touch there as well. Into the Jena curve, that left flick that leads you into the 3 pressure Kreisel. Big second pressure. She has to steer hard to get the line she wants into this lower labyrinth.
This could turn red. There's been a little too much steering, but let's see if she can hang on to the green down here. 21-year-old from Utah, the state of Utah in the USA.
And
she
is
Nicely
in the green.
done.
So from 15 thousandths to 40 thousandths. So she matches the improvement we saw from Prock and from Schulte. And again, that's encouraging for anybody who is now sort of hovering just outside the top 10. There's still speed to be found in this track, but again, errors creeping in for Ashley.
She had a slightly worse mistake out of S4 the first run. So she improved a little bit, and you know, by the World Championships in 4 weeks, she'll have it totally dialed in.
And they're knocking off the corners. They're no longer race rusty. Now then, our world champion, Katerina Katnikova. What on earth is she doing back in 14th place? She was the 22nd starter of 28 sliders. Now she needs a much better second heat, Tim.
Katnikova not really enjoying quite the season she had last year, aside from the World Championship. She was top 6 in virtually every World Cup race. But so far this year, she's got a 17th. She comes off of a 10th place finish in Winterberg. Nice exit of curve 9 into the Jena curve.
1 medal so far this season, bronze in Oberhof, but she needs, I beg your pardon, no, that wasn't even her. Bronze in Altenburg. Yeah. She needs to find something pretty decent down at the bottom here. Ooh. Well,
she does find it. And again, we mentioned that earlier. The Russian sleds, for the first time this season, are finding speed down below. How about that? She opened up nearly 2 tenths on the last 6 curves.
That's pretty impressive. And down through the lower labyrinth, as she came down through the Z curve, looked like she was sliding around a little bit.
Well, they're holding to form. The last several athletes to go have held their positions. And we still have 3 from the USA to come next. None of them in the top 10 after run number 1.
Big height in S3, got it together in S4 and came straight down the bend away. And that's what you need to carry that start speed all the way down the hill. So Katnikova, our world champion, is the race leader. Next up is Brittany Arndt of the USA.
22 years old. She is also from Park City, a big winter resort in western USA, known really for its skiing and its snowboarding and its expensive stores and restaurants.
Well, she had start draw number 8. She is 16th away in the second heat. That's the improvement. And that, again, Tim, you know, you can train as much as you like in Park City, in Lake Placid, but it's not racing. You are training. You're testing a lot of the time. You're keeping your fitness, but race rustiness comes in. And, of course, when you come to a track where you'll compete against the rest of the world, you've got to start really finding that vibe again, and I think she has.
Well, she'll need to find some speed is what she needs to find down here. 1400s back of the Russian as she starts heading uphill on the bottom part of this track.
Little mistake off Echo, not too bad through Seal Curve and at the line. 3/10 back, so she drops down to 4th position, Brittany Arndt. And Katerina Katnikova is there in the leaders box ahead of Ashley Farquharson and Lisa Schulte, with Brittany Arndt dropping into 4th place.
And 12 remaining, including all of the Germans still to come here on their home track in Königssee.
So for her, it'll be no worse than 16th place.
How about that view of a 360-degree Kreisel corner?
Yeah, that's a great view, isn't it? So from Brittany Arndt, we move now to Emily Sweeney. Arndt just stumbled a little. She's probably not going to repeat her 14th place of last year. Emily Sweeney not in last year's World Cup race. And of course, every slider that comes now will have a slightly more substantial advantage over current leader Katerina Katnikova.
Emily, a product of the USA's National Guard World-Class Army program. And she wasn't sure she was going to make it over here because she actually had to take some vacation time from her military obligations to spend her athletic career cruising around from track to track. But it's good she got that clearance.
Yeah, it's been an issue actually for all the athletes in the WCAP program because of travel restrictions on the US military, precisely because of what leaves us in this weird season situation, the COVID pandemic. 109.9, great speed from Sweeney. 2500's up.
She's one of the best in the world at finding speed down below. And she's doing it again today. 2500 up at that last split. The lines look okay. Let's see if she opens it up even more. No, she lost about half of that back.
And I want to see the exit out of Echo. Unusually, you saw her almost hanging off the side of the sled like a motorcycle rider. We talked about in the doubles race yesterday, Tim, how every part of the duo, like on a motorcycle, is vital. Well, this is in the lower labyrinth, but the exit of Echo, she was leaning off the left, almost off the left-hand side of the sled. Really dramatic, big steer she put in, and that's where some of that speed went away. But a big smile on her face. She's happy to be here competing. And next up is her teammate Summer Britcher. Just 36 thousandths between these two top American sliders after our first heat.
Summer from the state of Pennsylvania, the fastest of the Americans in run number 1. But I got to tell you, Martin, an 11th place Summer Britcher is not a happy Summer Britcher who expects to be contending for medals every week.
Well, listen, she'll take 11th now, Tim, because she's racing.
That's true.
Next week,
they're back.
no.
Yeah, she can ease back into those podium contentions.
There you go.
Whoa! Yes, that's all sorts of trouble, and you still see the skid marks through the Jenner curve.
Yep, and I'm afraid that's going to leave Emily Sweeney. Look, 2.9 kilometers an hour down on our best speed. So she will just be hemorrhaging time all the way down here.
I think she'll be looking at 6th or 7th place, maybe 5th. If
Could
she's
be lucky, but I'd be surprised even if she's that high up. Emily Sweeney is our leader. Summer Britcher drops to 5th place, the 10th best run of the competition in this second heat. And again, you know, the S's, the Schlangengruber, the Serpent's Nest, it's well named. You know, every time you go in there, they can bite back. Here she comes off S4. Big skid going here. Feet down to try and stabilize the sled. but she's looking up, and that takes a little weight off the back of the runners, and it enhances the skid. And then you don't have the speed to carry the line you need, and so you're fighting hard all the way down the bottom of the track.
One thing that's going to be interesting to see is the USA's qualification for the relay is generally the fastest individual heat time. So I'm not sure whether Britcher or Sweeney has earned that distinction to race a little later on today as the Latvian now hits the ice.
Yeah, this is Elisa Teruma. We're into our top 10 after the first heat. So right now, Emily Sweeney, the race leader for the US, looking to start her World Cup campaign in the second half of the year with a top 10 finish. And 33 thousandths back is Elisa Teruma.
Two-time Olympian, I believe she's the oldest racer, but just 30 years old, with Raluca Stramaturaro missing this week and next week's competition. Here is the senior woman on tour right now.
Well, she finished in 9th place last year. Will she be in the top 10 again this year? At the moment, I'm afraid I'm not looking very positively at that. Across the line.
Second place behind the American, ahead of the Russian. So Emily Sweeney has officially given at least one USA athlete a top 10 showing today in their return.
And again, you know, it is about being back. They all want to win, they all want to compete to their personal best, but they understand that this is not a normal season.
Not at all. Especially, here's a little stat for you, Martin, as we see the Latvians, and we're headed to Latvia next week, but 7 of 10 races are being held in Germany. And so far this year, Germany has won 17 of 23 events. They've been on the podium 38 of 63 positions. So there's been more parity in this sport over the last several seasons, but this year is a special season, no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's a very Eurocentric season for everybody, but needs must. Kendia Apajoda racing here in Bavaria this weekend. Next weekend it'll be her home ice in Sigulda, Latvia, where the World Cup finds itself. 9th place after the first heat for this young Latvian slider. She finished 15th here last year, Tim. This is a big improvement.
She will be home in less than 24 hours as 2 charter planes are getting ready in Salzburg Airport to take all of the athletes to Riga tomorrow morning.
And again, we talk about the beauty of this place. Salzburg Airport, that's a hell of a place. It's surrounded. You feel like you're in a goldfish bowl surrounded by mountains. Always just hope it's a bit of a blustery day when you get there, so there's some lift for the aircraft. Apajoda 109.6, that's good speed. Is it enough to stay ahead of Emily Sweeney? The gap's down to 14 thousandths.
This is going to be very tight good. In the red now. In the red, but I don't know. It could be at green again. This is so tight. Could be down to the 1,000th. 3 thousandths of a second.
3 thousandths of a second. So Apajoda has the lead. And again, this will be a PB for her in a big way here in Königssee. 15th place last year. She will be no worse than 9th this year. And that's a big improvement in a strong field.
And this will be her 4th top 10 in the last 5 races. So consistent, if not yet spectacular. She does have 1 podium this year. Her 2nd career podium was a couple of weeks ago in Oberhof.
Well, again, you know, you talk about a top 10. We've got 4 German sleds. So actually, there are only 6 top 10 positions available to the rest of the world,
that's
usually.
True, barring any unforeseen error.
Okay, now then, 35 thousandths ahead, Tatjana Ivanova. Is that enough for the Russian to stay in front? 35 thousandths sounds like a lot. It is 1 error from dropping back. Apajoda will be watching with the eyes of a hawk.
She is the winningest World Cup athlete in the sport of women's luge, not named Geisenberger. Natalie with 49 career wins, Ivanova with 15.
We're in Altenberger, winner in Altenberg earlier this season. There were some words in there that got kind of conflated. 5 thousandths. I told you 35 thousandths wasn't a big lead. Apajoda had a good top half of the track. 12,000's back. Now, let's see if she's got speed in the Kreisel like her teammates.
Yeah, the Russians have been finding the green down below this week.
There you go, 1:10.1, best speed we've seen.
So her deficiency is now an advantage of 300ths, which will still need to be perfect down here through the fent curve.
35,000s from the first heat. Does she add to it at all here over Abarjoda? Yes, she does. Wow, that's a big run.
51.212. That's 500ths better than her first heat. And folks, if you don't watch a lot of sliding sports, it's not that often that you have your faster runs in run number 2 unless the temperature is dropping.
And that shows how well this ice holds up, even with the sharp luge runners carving at it all the way through here. And like her teammates, trimmed out beautifully for speed in the bottom part of this track, which is where you really make hay.
Russia out in front, Italy getting ready.
This is Andrea Furter from Italy. 7 to go now in our 5th race of the Ebispescia Women's Luge World Cup. We're in Königssee, Bavaria. And Andrea Furter with a tiny advantage over our current leader.
25 years old, but already in her 7th season as a World Cup slider for Italy. She had 10 top 8 finishes in World Cup action before finally breaking into the podium last season in Altenburg.
Now, she had 400ths of an advantage as she put her sled on the line. She's 2300ths up now. That is a massive advantage from the start over Ivanova. But look at the speed, 1:09.6, half a kilometre an hour down.
Right,
and that could cost her a quarter of a second before the line.
The Russian had all of her speed working down here at the bottom of the track. Vetter's best finish of 5th so far this year.
Hard steer off Echo. She's going to be narrowly in front. No, she's not.
Back. And again, Tatiana, who, as you see, took that long hair out of the helmet, she had so much speed down below, and she could pick off a couple of more. Eitberger up next was just ahead of Beta, then her teammate Demchenko to follow.
Great starting. She's got lots of speed at the start, Andrea Furter, and that's only going to get better. But here in the Kreisel, the line is good. Watch the toes. Big steer there to hold that second pressure down. And she was already lacking speed. Armin Zögler offers her a little bit of a commiseration, not so much. She's still going to be firmly in the top 10. Next up, Diana Eitberger, one of our 2 returning German luge mums. 76 thousandths her advantage over our current leader, Ivanova.
She said to me a few weeks ago that being a mother has been, and you're not going to believe this, but has been a lot easier than she thought it was going to be. In part because her baby Levi is a very happy baby. So what a great joy. Congratulations to Diana, the Olympic silver medalist. Great to see her back in the sport.
Absolutely right. Well, kids, even when they're a pain, are a joy eventually. But yeah, as we said, you know, for both her and for Natalie Geisenberger, being a mum, being a parent will certainly have enhanced her patience and resilience, if not her sleeping hours.
Lest we forget another Olympic medalist, Erin Hamlin, back in the USA, just gave birth 2 weeks ago. So congratulations to Luge's newest mother.
Now, 1:09.4, she's a kilometre an hour down in speed. Not half, not a tenth, a kilometre an hour down to Ivanova. Is she going to hang on? Eitberger?
Well, we saw it turn green to red before, but not this time. Diana really with a solid run. And that was impressive. I thought that she was going to lose a lot more time. Maybe not fall behind, but she opened it up down below. And these German coaches look very satisfied with what they're seeing, with 3 more still to come.
3 bronze medals and 1 gold this season for Diana Eitberger. Is she going to be able to claim a medal here? Well, she was 6 off the first heat. It's a long reach, but boy, she found some speed. Look at the way she's just sliding the sled through here. Absolutely beautiful.
It's never been one of her best tracks, but of course the Germans did spend a lot of time here preseason, including one segment of their national championships in November.
Final 5 sliders in race 5 of the Eberspecher Women's Luge World Cup, and we have 2 qualifiers who came through Nations Cup up next. First of all, Victoria Demchenko of Russia, and both of these 2 sliders, Victoria and our next competitor, had big runs here last year.
Well, let's be honest, Demchenko came out of qualifying just because she's had some crashes recently. Bierreiter up next had to qualify simply because this is only her 2nd race of the year.
Yep. And they were both on the podium in last year's World Cup race. Yes, there was no Geisenberger. Yes, there was no Eitberger, but you can only race who's there.
Absolutely. As she is handling the Kreisel, still in the red, but if she's anything like Ivanova, she can find green, she can pick up a 10th. This is where she crashed, had a bad crash 2 years ago, right at this spot, but she's still looking pretty good. Maybe too much to make up though, Martin.
I don't know what she got. Is Victoria Demchenko going to do what her dad did and find it at the bottom? She does not. 4th fastest run, so she slips behind. Diana Eitberger is our race leader with 4 to go.
By the way,
Tim, you said, what are the odds of a German 1, 2, 3, 4? Well,
we're 1 away.
There's a chance.
One athlete away, the Austrian coming up after our next German. By the way, those little wooden figurines you see in the leader's box, those are locally made, a company called Craftsmanship right here in Berchtesgaden. There's some trivia for you.
Well, you're so used to seeing all of those wooden ornaments in
Altenburg, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you can compare and contrast the different lines, and just a little extra steering going on from the Russian. Gas Anna, well, that will be for Anna Bierreiter. 4th after the first heat. Again, a qualifier, as you say, because she hasn't done a lot of races in the last season. Bierreiter, last year's gold medalist on this track.
One of 2 wins for her in her opening season as a World Cup athlete. She handles this with about 6 or 7 paddles, but I'm not going to second guess that. She knows this track as well as anyone in this field. This is her hometown.
And there is a lot of power. You just look at her style when she's paddling. There's a lot of power in those arms. That upper body strength is so important for a luge athlete. 2200's up now.
2nd fastest start time with those 6 paddles. Perfectly into the Kreisel.
Better speed than Diana Eitberger as well. 1:10.0 and needs the exit, lands it perfectly down through the doodles.
Really nice form, really good speed.
Again, as in the first heat, a big steer off Echo. That's going to cost her a little bit to the line, but she leads by 0.15 of a second. And she is 1 away from the medals.
Fastest run of the heat. So now it's podium time. And wow, she's making a great statement. Her world championship spot is not yet assured. Norbert Locke said, there's still the chance Cheyenne Rosenthal can make her way back onto the team. But Bierreiter is making it pretty tough for Cheyenne.
Now look here in the second pressure of the Kreisel. Watch that left toe, holding the line down. Not too much steering. Get the line on out of Jena right. And Kreisel becomes a lot easier. There's your leader.
Okay,
last year's winner.
Here's the situation. Once again, Madeline Egla in podium position, as she's been so many times this season. In all past races, she fell off of the podium in run number 2. Now, she hasn't had any train wrecks or disasters. She's fallen just off. Her results, 5th, 6th, 4th, 4th, 4th. Can she finally break through with her first podium?
Well, she creeps a little ahead at the start from 0.17 of a second to 0.19 of a second as she gets into the prone position. But Bierreiter is going to be really tough to beat here. A German on a German track is always home field advantage.
Wow, she cut that
up.
close out of S4, nearly touching the wall. Still a good advantage of a quarter of a second.
Good speed, very good speed. 1:10.2 and a good line in the Kreisel. Again, lands the exit beautifully. 2800, she's going away from Bereiter.
I think she's going to do it, Martin. This is going to be the biggest sigh of relief you have seen this season. If Egla finally makes it onto the podium, this has been a story we've been following, and she does.
And look at that advantage, 0.3 of a second from 1700s up. She doubles her advantage. That is a fantastic relief. Tim, we talked about it off air between the two heats. Either she needs to finish on the podium soon, or it's going to start to become an albatross. Again, carves a lot of ice out of S4, but she had to because she was carrying more speed than she did in run one.
Well, great to see Madeline Egla make that first giant step, literally and figuratively, onto the podium. The amount of confidence that's going to give this athlete moving forward cannot be calculated enough.
So, 2 to go. It is Egla, Bereiter and Eitberger. Who will take medals away here? Will it be Natalie Geisenberger, the most crowned woman in luge and our World Cup points leader? She has been the silver medalist not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times. Yes, every race this year she's finished in second.
But as I said, she's literally not a bridesmaid. She is a great champion, 2 Olympic gold medals. She is a bride and also a new mother, also just returning back to the World Cup Tour and looking pretty solid, although still in the red. I believe it's going to turn green.
Only had 11 thousandths over Eigler, 1:10.5, just a fraction quicker than the Austrian. And she carries more mass as well. She's taller, she's stronger, and mass helps your speed. The gap has come right down. Geisenberger could just win this at the line. She's in the green now. She knows where she's going. She doesn't have to look. And she takes the lead.
But still smiling Madeline Egla in the leader zone, as she will hold a spot on the podium. Natalie is maybe not taller than Madeline, but she's a lot stronger, that's for sure. And we know one thing for sure, Martin. We know Germany has won yet another World Cup race. What we don't know is which German it will be and whether Geisenberger will be 7 for 7 in second place or have her first victory of the season and her 50th in her career.
Would that be a perfect season where you get 7 silver medals? And, I'm not sure. Well, again, watch her. She slides it out of S4. But she's barely looking now. Natalie Geisenberger knows where she's going on this ice. So 1 to go. Who is going to win for Germany? And will last year's winner, Anna Bereiter, be in the medals at all? It's all down to this one woman, Julia Talbot. But look at her advantage. It's not 9 thousandths. It's 109 thousandths. She was a 10th up on Geisenberger after the first heat. And not many people get to say that.
Julia has just been so magical the last couple of years. 11 World Cup victories, 4 of them this season. She doesn't get the attention that the Olympic medal winning teammates get. That's just fine with her. She also doesn't carry the same size as Geisenberger and Eitberger.
Starts quicker though. She's gone from a 10th up to 1500ths up. This is a big first half of the run. But you make your money below the Kreisel here. 1:10.7, best speed we've seen. Talbot's the silver medalist on this track last year, could be going one step better. Geisenberger could be batting 7 for 7 as the silver medalist. Off echo, she's perfect. Great run from Julia Talbot.
Julia Talbot is going to win for the 5th time this season, the 12th time in her career, denying Geisenberger World Cup victory number 50. And Martin, we said it a lot yesterday that the bigger rivalries in the sport are amongst the German regions, and we've seen that play out so far in all 3 races, doubles, women, and men's singles. it was a German, either a Bavarian or a Thuringian, taking it over their counterpart.
And Tim, she didn't just win, she went going away. 0.10 up in the first heat. She tripled her advantage. That's an astonishing feat in any luge race, never mind over a queen like Natalie Geisenberger. What a run. Silver medalist last year, gold medalist this year. If she doesn't love Königssee yet, I want to know why not. Great starting, great driving.
She's going to cut into Natalie Geisenberger's overall World Cup lead. She won't quite catch her in the overall. She may have just slid right by her in the classic races, taking out the sprint. It's going to be a good battle the rest of the way.
Well, Julia Talbot's win number 5 of the season. Natalie Geisenberger, bronze medal number 7, silver medal number 7, and medal number 1 in the World Cup for Madeleine Egel. And that perhaps is almost as big a story for her as another win for Julia Talbot. And there are the rest of our finishing positions. Great to see that North American athletes are back in World Cup action as well, blowing off a few cobwebs. Disastrous day for Natalie Marg. Should have been top 10, wasn't even top 20. A day that could have promised